Each and every one of us has an unlimited inner wellspring of spiritual power. You have the ability to transform, create, and heal anything upon which you set your heart and mind. Join me, Sarah Hall, as we learn how to uplift all aspects of your life through spiritual empowerment. Enjoy weekly guided meditations, spiritual discussions on a multitude of topics, and a chance to call in to receive channeled messages from the angels on your spiritual journey. I'm Sarah Hall, and this is Through the Eyes of the Angels.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Through the Eyes of the Angels. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, I know that many of you listening have a spiritual practice of some kind, or at the very least, that you have had a feeling in your heart of wanting to connect with the divine, an instinctual yearning to discover meaning and to touch the source of love and miracles. That instinctual yearning is universal within every human being. We are born with a consciousness that is one with the source of all. And yet our earth plane, being as it is, we don't quite seem to hold a constant realization of that truth, not quite all the time, perhaps. But that knowledge is never lost to us. It's the quiet, mysterious, and constant force that flows out to animate our every expression of consciousness. It is our passion for awakening, living, and knowing that lights the spark beneath every thought, every desire, every dream. So today, we're going to be receiving angel messages on the power of spiritual practice as a method for awakening to realize our unity with truth, with the creative source of all. And there are many spiritual practices that can help us achieve this, just in the same way that there are many rivers that lead to the same ocean. Many spiritual paths may lead to the same union with truth. So when I tuned into the angels, I received the message that spiritual practice doesn't necessarily have to be something traditional, like prayer or meditation, though certainly these are among some of our most effective means for opening to higher consciousness. Really, any disciplined action that you practice with a devoted intention to awaken your relationship with yourself and with the divine is a spiritual practice. Spiritual practice can be an art form, like dancing, singing, painting. It can be woven into a hobby like gardening or cooking, or it can be channeled through physical exercises like yoga, running, cycling, or whatever else resonates with you. It doesn't really matter exactly what it is, so long as, again, it helps you to interface with yourself, the magic of your consciousness, and with reality, your relationship with the cosmos, with God. The best forms of spiritual practice are the ones that achieve two things in particular. Number one, it offers you some means to challenge or discipline yourself. Committing to a challenge, even if that challenge is simply to stay in your meditation for a period of time, will always bring you face to face with the ego. The ego, as you may know, is the part of us that is fear personified. Ego is resistant to unification with divine consciousness because it fears that change. It fears its own transformation or death. When we challenge ourselves to a discipline, we are facing the ego in the forms that it shows us of its resistance, its attempts at eluding or distracting us. Discipline, therefore, allows us to become more aware of how the ego functions. What patterns have we allowed it to create in our thought processes and our behaviors? What blockages in our beliefs? And in the very act of disciplining the self to keep practicing, in other words, to keep holding presence in the experience of the spiritual work, we diminish and detach from the ego's hold on our lives. We begin to see through and dissolve limitations and strengthen our ability to hold consciously aware space for our divine essence. And self-discipline, by the way, according to the angels, in order for it to be really successful in helping us to face and exceed limits, must be done with kindness. Kindness is the key. Kindness helps us to walk the middle road with self-discipline. The middle road, so between being maybe too nice to your comfort zone to the extent that you allow the resistance to your inner work to rule you, maybe that resistance, your comfort zone, laziness, whatever it might be, and between being too strict with yourself to the extent that the ego takes on the form of trying to control and force what arises in your being. Kindness is the best approach to self-discipline because it honors your dual nature. It's a vehicle then into non-duality, funnily enough. It honors that there is a time for the inhale and a time for the exhale. There's a time to rise up and face reality with a warrior's strength, and there's a time to rest, to nurture yourself. Okay, number 2, the second best form of spiritual practice, or requirement for spiritual practice to be very helpful for us, is that it might offer us some way to achieve an altered state of consciousness. Does your practice do that? Does your practice involve getting into an altered state in which you're not overly involved in the movements of the mind and body, trying to control what arises, forcing yourself to be at peace, forcing yourself to stop your thoughts, nor completely absorbed into and identified with what arises and thereby avoidant of the present moment's experiences. An altered state in which we're simply present. That's what we're looking for here. Often this presence can result from a discipline or a devotion. As a result of balancing yourself in that meditation, you scaffold up into perhaps a moment of pure being, a presence so here, so aware, that a pure stillness arises, in which you are simply channeling the magical miracle of witnessing creation. This is a medicine for your whole life, this state of being, this altered state. Perhaps as a result of holding yourself in a state of prayer or chanting, you might unlock what we call trance-like state, a rhythm in the functioning of the brain that quiets the ego because it leaves no room for it. It is a state that is beyond the ego's neural patterning. It expands your present awareness and opens the doorway to the divine. Perhaps as a result of physical exercise, you might rise above ordinary, maybe distractible consciousness into a state of that same pure awareness that you might get in meditation, because no other state is possible if you are to continue holding that yoga asana, or to continue jogging your 5th mile down the road, or to continue dancing. That altered state of awareness, which is simply to be present, radically present, is a sign that you have moved and transformed something within you You have broken down the structures of your comfort zone, surrendered the lower self and its limitations to touch the truth that you are divine, that all is divine, and you are one with the all. You can achieve anything. You can touch and even embody the presence of God, the consciousness of pure spiritual awareness, pure divine love. And spiritual practice, it can help us to get there through a lifelong, humbling devotion when we stick to it. Now, spiritual practice may not always be easy for us. It may even have its moments where it might be considered a kind of voluntary form of suffering. Though, of course, if it feels challenging in this way, that's only temporary. Who is it that really suffers? Archangel Michael is the one that's always asking me that question when I spiritually practice. Who is it that really suffers? Not the higher self. It's only the ego that is capable of truly suffering. The divine, true self does not and cannot suffer, because God created the true self impermeable to suffering. If we devote ourselves to not attach to the ego, well, then suffering ceases to be suffering. It does not hurt to destroy the ego if we're not identified with it. It doesn't hurt any more than it hurts to send a bit of dust out into the wind and to watch it go. It's nothing. If we are not attached, then we can easily and without discomfort allow the ego to transform and pass away. And so, through this voluntary suffering, this voluntary willingness to grit and maybe do this work, to face this work, we transcend suffering in our everyday human lives, so that when hardship comes knocking on our door, it does not hurt you so much. It doesn't hurt you so much if you've already practiced observing rather than identifying with the ego's responses of fear. If the habit that you've achieved through spiritual practice is to respond to the realm of the lower self and the lower world with presence, non-attached freedom from the impulses of fear, kindness and compassion for the self, for all, then faith and trust just permeate your consciousness in response to anything that arises, good or bad. Faith and trust becomes the song that permeates your relationship with all. Life's adversities cease to be adversities necessarily, because we're not probably judging them as such. With faith, with that connection to the mind of the all. You see, spiritual practice claims vaster and ever more expansive space in your consciousness for the awareness of truth the more we practice. It claims more real estate for awareness and realization of your oneness with the divine, and it makes a habit and pattern of that. If we observe our consciousness enough, we observe that it likes to function with habits and patterns. And you get to choose what those are. You get to be the artist of being in your life. And spiritual practice is the medium that enables you to interface with that artistry. So the more of your mental real estate you claim for this awareness of being connected to truth, to love, to that pure awareness, the more free of limitation you'll be, the more in touch with meaning, purpose, balance, health, and happiness you'll be too. The more you will arrive into all of the things that every human being seems to ceaselessly reach for and desire with everything that we do and think in our lives. spiritual practice actually helps us to get there. And in this way, we can think of spiritual practice actually as a really great form of self-care. It is medicine for all aspects of life. It expands, purifies, and uplifts your relationship with yourself and gives you a way to interface with your relationship with the divine source too. Spirituality itself, maybe perhaps, could best be understood as your journey and your relationship with yourself. The divine is a presence within you, right? God is within. So all the truth of the universe may be accessed from within you, through you, your consciousness, by going within. And as you learn to relate with yourself in this life, you have the opportunity to access and become more aware of that divine presence within, to see the world through its lens, and again, even to embody it, so that its truth may spread into the hearts of every being you meet. Spiritual practice, that can be your medium for doing just that. So, how do we deepen spiritual practice then? How do we practice in such a way that we can achieve these new perspectives, states of being, healing, or serving in the world? I get so many questions that go along the lines of, I can't meditate. How do I meditate? I'm not good at it. I get distracted. What can I do? I don't seem to stick with this stuff, and so forth. And the message that I have received repeatedly when tuning into the angels is that when we feel like we can't or we're not good at spiritual practice, it's simply that we've fallen for the ego's illusion that spiritual practice is something that you need to be perfect at. The illusion that it's some glamorously peaceful, transcendent state of being all the time. Sure, it'll be peaceful sometimes, I'm sure. But sometimes it can also cause us to face struggle. We want to stop and go make a phone call, turn on the TV, check our text messages, take out the trash, eat a snack, do the dishes, scroll through social media, procrastinate. Maybe procrastinate regularly enough to where we put ourselves out of practice for quite some time. And then it seems even harder to restart again. It's okay. That's human. That's the ego's normal resistance to healing, to spiritually unifying change. When you feel like you can't, or you feel like it's hard, or you're bored, or you're not spiritually enough, quote unquote, that's exactly when you're striking gold in the situation. That's exactly when you're facing the real good stuff, the juicy stuff. The whole point of spiritual practice is to face those exact feelings. You have to go through those woods in order to come out the other side. So you're not failing at spiritual practice if you feel that way. You're succeeding at doing exactly what you set out to do. Expect those feelings to come. We're all human, and you're setting out to face them so that you can expand your awareness of them, so that you can learn more. And only by expanding your awareness of them and facing them, by the way, will they transform into something new. Will you graduate maybe into the next form, the next place. Expand what you're seeing. The key to deepening your spiritual practice is simply to be willing to show up for it. Just start with that. Show up. Breathe. Face the feeling of distraction or discomfort if that's what arises. Observe it without fighting it, without stuffing it down. Be present with it. Allow and observe and get to know those feelings. See them. You don't really need to identify them, but see them, and they too will pass away and dissolve eventually. You'll likely notice that if you do this long enough, you keep showing up enough, you keep observing, you keep facing, you keep holding that presence, that there are gaps between one distraction and the next. Between one thought and the next, there is a space. There are spaces between. And God is seeping out of those spaces. God is seeping through the cracks of ordinary consciousness constantly and infinitely. And one day or another, perhaps when we die, perhaps sooner, the whole of what you know will dissolve and God will be all that is left. So, to help us deepen and strengthen our spiritual practices today, the angels gave me some guidance to share with you. Just a few little simple things to help structure it, to help you set out, to go a little further. Number one, consciously set a goal. Make a commitment. Devote yourself in some way. This can be as simple as saying, today, I promise myself that I will set a timer and I will meditate for 30 minutes. It doesn't matter what distractions or whatever arises in my mind. I'm just going to observe, breathe, and hold awareness for 30 minutes, not getting up until that timer goes off. It doesn't matter how many times you get distracted, just going to sit here. Also, the more specific you are about exactly what you're setting out to do, the better your chances of staying committed. In this way, you're setting yourself up to be able to rise above any excuses that your ego wants to convince you of not to practice. If you know you have that 30-minute window, it's available to you, the timer is going to set off, you don't need to worry about watching the clock, and you know you believe that it's good for you and you want this in your life, then you set yourself up to be strong in the face of the temptation to pull yourself away from the work. So make a commitment, set an intention. You can also add to that intention what perhaps you're seeking at a spiritual level. You know, you can say, I want to connect with the angels. I want to feel divine love. I want to feel freedom from attachments to the things that make me feel pain in my life, difficulty in my life. Set some kind of inner attachment and sometimes kind of structural attachment as well. The structural attachment being the what am I going to do? The inner goal being why am I doing it? What am I aiming for? Number two, make your spiritual practice daily. Consistency. Have some regularity with it. Find something, even if it's small and simple, that you can do daily, realistically, so that you can face yourself, expand your awareness, and again, open to God. Now here, this is where you may have days where you need to be flexible with yourself. If you, let's say, have a practice that challenges you more, if your practice is to wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate for 2 hours, for example, there might be days where you cannot. Let's say if you're sick and you need rest, then it would be a good part of your practice to be flexible with yourself and sleep that morning. Make practice daily in a manageable, balanced way, in other words, without being too forceful or controlling with yourself, and also without falling away from the discipline. Remember, again, self-discipline is achieved best with kindness towards the self. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to challenge yourself to push harder and go further. Sometimes the kindest thing that you can do is to give yourself a hug and nurture yourself, take a step back. But if you can do something daily, you've already won. You don't need to worry about being a master. You don't need to worry about reaching the glamorous level we sometimes conceptualize, like the Buddha or the Christ. You don't need to worry about forcing yourself to be perfect. The perfect concept of being spiritual. If you can show up consistently for yourself and your relationship with truth, freedom, love, and meaning, then wow, you will be achieving something truly amazing that cannot fail and offering you and the world something of true value. So show up regularly, consistently, and do it your whole life. Your whole life. We never stop learning. We never stop growing. And then finally, number 3, be humble. Be connected in some way to the concept of humility, humbling the self in your spiritual practice. Remember, That's what spiritual practice is going to be doing for you. It will be humbling. Being willing and ready to humble the ego whenever necessary, that will set you up for success too, for going deeper. We know the ego shows up in so many forms. Sometimes it tells us we're not spiritual at all, and so we should avoid spiritual practice. I'm not good at meditating, that kind of thing. Or sometimes it tells us we're ultimately spiritual. We've done it. We've arrived in enlightenment. So here too, you can now stop practicing. You're fully baked. No, show up and practice no matter what. Humble the ego's illusions. Observe what you see and just be present around it. No need to judge yourself, whatever comes up in the mind. Just see it and hold presence. And then show up and humble yourself the next day and the next day and the next day to the daily devotion. That's where the magic happens. Anyone and everyone can touch the divine if we hold that intention. And then make ourselves aware and available to receive its fulfillment by practicing. And if you call upon the angels or other spiritual guides with whom you feel aligned, they can help you on this path too. So let's go ahead and take a moment to do just that together right now. Let's take a moment to come together for our guided meditation. Go ahead and take a moment to get quiet and comfortable in a nice, relaxed position. And then when you're ready to, you can start by closing the eyes and taking in several long and deep, healing breaths. As you're breathing in this quiet state, simply take a moment to become aware of your breath. Allowing every drop of your awareness to witness each inhale and each exhale. Notice that the more aware you become, observing yourself, the more that awareness expands. You are now aware not only of your breath, the inhale and the exhale, but also of the beating rhythm of your heart. All of the systems of the body humming along in harmony. Continuing to breathe in this awareness, you find that you are seeing the whole of your consciousness as if from the bird's eye view. You are aware of all of its patterns, habits, the tones of its vibration, the way that it sings. Simply by floating back and observing. Allow your awareness to become a beautiful silvery white light that permeates every cell of your body and every particle of your consciousness, your spirit. As you breathe deeply, allow yourself to fully inhabit every single pinprick of that light. every moving piece of it. Notice that light is expanding beyond your body, that it inhabits the room you are in, that it expands out to the land sprawling out all around you. And that you can even become aware of the earth spinning in its orbit. The universe expanding. Simply observe and inhabit the light, allowing whatever moves through your awareness to simply be. Notice that the deeper you allow this movement of your awareness, the more your consciousness seems to expand out. Each thought and feeling expanding out further apart from the other. Each particle expanding out so wide that you can become aware of the spaces and gaps between them. You can feel the infinite vastness between thought forms and feelings. Breathing deeply, pause within one of these spaces now. Simply breathe deeply and allow yourself to be still here for a few breaths as you allow your whole being to merge with the purity you find here. Allow everything to flow and merge in your consciousness. A fountain flowing out of your mind. The purity of the infinite vastness cleansing everything, every form of thought. It is good to be here. Health, harmony, and peace deeply enters into your being here and flows out into every aspect of being of your life. With your next deep, healing breath, slowly and gently allow your awareness to come back to your body. observe, and then take a moment to set an intention for your spiritual practice on the path ahead of you, a prayer and devotion to hold in your heart. Notice now that a group of angels and ascended masters now stand around you in a circle of flowing heavenly space. Breathe deeply to feel your connection to them. Feel them holding space for your connection with pure awareness for you. Feel how easy it is to be in communion with them. Notice that these healing teachers are sending you light. And with your next deep breath, allow this light to flow through you like a river, carrying your consciousness upon that river into harmony with all of the universe. As you observe the flow, you feel exactly where you fit in the harmonious tapestry of all. And you flow with it perfectly. Taking in another relaxing deep breath, hold the following thought in your intentions. I allow myself to be an instrument of truth. May I be humble and ever expanding in the awareness of truth now and always. And so it is. Thank you, Heaven, for guiding us. At your own pace, you may now take in another deep breath. Exhaling to gently open the eyes and shift your focus back into the room and into the here and now. Beautiful. Thank you so much for connecting with me in that meditation. It always brings through such a nice shift. So now is our time to enter into a nice conversation with the angels. We're going to take your reading requests and questions. If you have a question, feel free to submit it in the Bring Me to Life chat room. Today, our setup is just a little bit different, so we're not going to be taking our calls as usual, but if you scroll to the chat room on the Bring Me to Life page, you can type in your reading request there. Today, I'm going to be working with the Sacred Travelers Oracle cards by Denise Lynn as a tool to help us get a little extra guidance. So I see that we have several who have already messaged in with some questions, so let's go right to it. We have a question from Sarah from Minnesota. Hi, Sarah. She says, I've been working on my spiritual practice for about 3 years now, but have never felt truly connected. What can I do to get over the hump? That's a really good question. I love it. And it's so on topic for today. So right away, I'm actually feeling that you do have guides and angels who are around you. Particularly, I'm feeling just a really beautiful spiritual presence that seems to be coming from Archangel Michael. And he's just showing us that he's kind of sitting around you, almost as if he's enveloping you in a really healing, beautiful energy. He's actually inviting you to do this with him, to call upon the angels. You can also call upon any other guides that you feel aligned with, and just ask for a little bit of help in feeling that kind of connection. It is totally normal not to feel a super strong, high vibrating, peaceful, zoned out, kind of connection every single time that we practice. Sometimes there's actually even more valuable work to be done when that's, not necessarily the state that we've come to, because instead maybe we're facing something else. Maybe we're facing a piece of ourselves that needs to be faced in order to clear the way for some kind of connection. But if you really want to feel that connection, again, your angels are suggesting that you call upon some higher guidance, just to help to deliver you over any maybe feelings of a blockage or a distraction, or just not getting that, kind of visceral, tangible sense of it. Because they can really give you that. The angels and spiritual guides that we tend to work with, they've gone before us, on this path. They've already achieved a lot of the journeying through consciousness that we seek to achieve. So breathe deeply. And there's a reason for breathing deeply, by the way. Archangel Michael is reminding us, he's saying, because the deeper you breathe, the more you're actually able to merge with spiritual essence. There's energy that comes in along the breath. So if you're getting to a point in practice where you're not feeling much, shift your breath a little bit. Try working with that breathing work. And again, focusing on calling the angels in. Start by using, by the way, your imagination to call in that light, to visualize, because your imagination is a more powerful plane than you may give it credit for. It's actually a plane that blends in with deep conscious states that can deliver us right into the arms of the spirit world. Everything that is manifested, that exists, that we channel spiritually, starts in that plane. So it's okay to start with a visualization to help you. And Archangel Michael is giving you a smile as well, with a little, just a feeling of love that is being sent your way, which he's saying is a sign that represents he's got every confidence in you, that you will feel your connection. And thank you so much, Sarah, for writing in. That was I think that's such a great question. It's going to help a lot of us that are listening. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our next question. We also have a question that came in from Joe. Joe says, "Hi, Sarah. I have been on a long spiritual journey and am now wanting to be of service through a spiritually based career using coaching, creativity, and energy healing. The spiritual practice I'm currently working with is art journaling, which is new to me and super fun. I wanted to ask if there are any other practices I should be using at this time, or anything else the angels would like me to know. Thanks for the work you do. You've been an encouragement and inspiration to me." Oh, thank you so much, Joe. That's so sweet of you. And how exciting. First of all, I can feel you've got a lot of guides and angels around you. I'm seeing a super beautiful rainbow colored light stretching all around your spirit, which I oftentimes see around people who are channeling some creativity. So that's really beautiful. And your guides and angels right off the bat just want you to know that you really, really very much are on the right path in terms of using, again, creativity, coaching, etc., energy healing to serve in the world. This is part of your life's purpose. They're showing us, first of all, that you're very much on the right track with regard to having this creative approach to spiritual practice. One of the reasons why is the angels are showing us that one of the things that you'll find that you might specialize in, at least for a time, is helping people in their relationship with themselves at the part where they're getting to know themselves a little bit better. And sometimes when we're engaging in creativity, journaling, self-expression, it gives us access to a fountain of information. It helps us really powerfully to observe, to pull out and observe what's inside of us. So in a way, it's a beautiful form of meditation. I'm really glad that you're doing that. The angels are adding one other thing, and it's interesting because when I tuned into the journaling, the art journaling, the creativity, that felt really close to coaching. It's almost like another way of coaching people, again, because you're helping them be in conversation with themselves and find truth. But on the other side, There's a whole other kind that feels like it comes in really, really well through energy healing, a kind of connecting spiritually. And that's the kind of spiritual connection that is wordless, that transcends sometimes, the logical linear thoughts that we might have about, who we are and that kind of thing. The energy healing or the energy work takes people to having a direct, tangible experience of the feeling of being connected with the divine, the feeling of, being healed, and knowing what that, kind of transformation is. I'm going to turn over just a couple of cards that I've pulled for you to see if the angels wanted to just give anything else about this path ahead. Beautiful. Your first card is the transformation card. Not surprised at all. That's a very synchronistic message to come up. And this is essentially saying that, yes, your purpose is to help people to transform themselves. So anything that you do, that you feel creatively guided to do, that calls people into transformation, where you're shepherding them through some kind of a personal transformation, is going to be right on path. Now, the next card is really nice. It is a card called the Narrow Pathway. The Narrow Pathway. And what this card symbolizes is when we tread very, very carefully and thoughtfully, to the extent that we remain focused. We know that there is a purpose, a very specific goal or purpose to what we are doing. So we don't just, we'll say, maybe journal to express whatever, kind of comes through, maybe, and to create pretty things, on the page. We maybe do it with a particular question in mind, with a particular goal in mind, a particular thought in mind. We're relating to something specific. Sometimes when we get that narrowed or specific, very mindful, thoughtful kind of intention that we put in, that will really, really help to direct the work that you are doing. So always look with that. Look to help people to find and even finesse their intentions for their lives. Because sometimes people don't always know exactly what they want when they go into coaching, when they enter into that relationship with you. They might just want to say, I want to feel better. I want to feel better. And you're going to help them set even better intentions, even deeper intentions that are based on them awakening their relationship with themselves a little bit more. And that would be a wonderful thing to do, and the angels will guide you. Your final card, by the way, is the Fellow Travelers card, which is telling you again that there's support all around you. And the angels are reminding you again that, yes, it's angels that are around you that are helping you, spiritual guides, but that may also come in the form of human support systems. So if you ever feel guided to collaborate with someone else who's also doing maybe creative work, healing work, something like that, you might find that you'll learn wonderful things and have great experiences that come through for that as well. So thank you again, Joe, for your question. That was just delightful to kind of tune in and to see what you're up to in the world. You're doing great things. Okay, let's go to our next question. We have a question coming in from Yulan from Austria. Yulan says, thank you so much for your wonderful service. Thank you so much, Yulan. Last year, I went through a difficult psychotic episode and I almost lost hope, which in hindsight, I come to understand that it must be part of my spiritual journey. Now, after a year of healing, I'm feeling much better. Lately, even feeling inspired to go back to my work as a musician and composer. But still, I'm having some doubts and questions. I would like to receive an angel reading and ask for guidance from the angels concerning my career and life purpose. Also, I'm open to any messages that they have for me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yulan. Oh my gosh, I love that you are a musician and composer. That is actually an incredible, amazing example of spiritual practice. I myself am a musician too, actually, and of all of the art forms that I have, practiced in my life, just from personal experience, I wanted to share with you that, wow, I mean, music is one of those things that really, really, really opens you up to a lot. It requires a lot of discipline and mastery, as you're probably well familiar with. It requires a lot of, discipline and focus. And yet at the same time, the fruits of doing that are that you're released into this incredible space where there's just this sublime stuff, this beauty that's moving through. Music is so beautiful. And it's pure vibration. So it's like it can carry you, to pure spiritual states. And universally, everybody feels that. Isn't that amazing that, universally we can not all even be speaking the same language, and yet we might get the same kind of feeling or effect from music. It might transform us all. We might each be moved emotionally, in other words, from a piece of music. So it's a very, very noble and beautiful path that you've signed up for. And I'm seeing Archangel Sandalphon coming forward as the first strongest guide that just wants to be, showing up for you in support. Sandalphon is the angel of music and also coincidentally the angel of prayer. In other words, an angel who helps us to create a bridge between ourselves, our earthly plane, our ordinary state of consciousness, and into the divine. And music does that just as prayer does that. So Sandalphon is with you very strong. And so is Archangel Michael, by the way. Archangel Michael helps you with clearing fear. Archangel Michael actually wants to just simplify a little of maybe what you might perceive on your journey going ahead, saying simply that you can embrace the path ahead as a musician and composer, knowing that one of the most important goals that you're setting out to achieve is mastering your relationship with yourself as you work as a musician and composer. So it takes a specific kind of relationship with yourself, a certain kind of lifestyle, a certain set of, beliefs and self-care in order to be able to be a musician, right? In order to be able to show up and practice every day and do the work and to wrap your mind around this magnificent, complex, multifaceted realm that is music, right? So go into it with that in mind, that it's not so much about the outcome, the destination, but the journey and how that journey is transforming you as a human being. So your artistry is just as much an artistry of self-care, of yourself, as it is of music itself. Because if it requires, your being in a state of a certain level of balance, a certain level of self-love, a certain level of structure for your daily lifestyle in order to sit down and be able to create your music, then beautiful. What a devotion that is. What strength and beauty will come to you? What transformation will come to you? So think as your first and strongest goal, the angels are saying, how can I make or mold myself into the best instrument that I can be in my heart, my spirit, my mind, my consciousness, in order to make way for letting music come through me? Does it mean that I might have to let go of expectations? Does it mean that I might need to let go of self-judgment or worrying or over-attaching to perfectionism or towards the outer, we'll say result of the music that I'm creating? Yes, probably. Probably, because sometimes if we're thinking too much about those kinds of things, it pulls us out of the music making. In the same way that, let's say, if you were practicing yoga and you were in a really challenging asana, or maybe you're trying to balance on one foot or something like that, if we take our mind out of that still, open, present space for just a moment and start judging ourselves or worrying about this, that, or the other thing, you'll probably fall down and you won't be able to do it anymore. Music is like that. It's one of those callings that requires really, really pure, expanded presence and awareness. So that will be a really, really great thing to do. The angels are also adding for your future path. Just don't doubt yourself. Believe in yourself every step of the way. That's going to be a big, important part of your self-care. Do that daily. Let that be part of your spiritual practice. Every single day, you're going to wake up and you're going to tell yourself, even if there's parts of you that don't believe it, I am worthy of this. I believe in myself. I am a musician. I can do this. And I'm completely unattached from how that, where the destination is going. I am devoted to what this is right now. The greatest artists of our time are that way. They would do their art no matter where it landed out in the world. No matter who was to see it, they would have no choice but to keep on painting, keep on singing, keep on playing, keep on doing it. So your angels are guiding you to do that, and they'll help you. And by the way, your card is the Voyage of the Heart, which I think is so beautiful. The angels are saying, let love flow through you. This is a journey of your heart. Let this all be an expression in self-love and kindness to yourself. Be kind to yourself, and you will do wonderful things. Thank you so much for your question. That was great. Okay, let's go to our next question. We have Amber, who says, I'm in grief over my mom's passing recently, and I'm looking for divine guidance as to how to manage my energy during this difficult time, or any other advice that the angels have for me. Oh, Amber, oh my gosh, I'm reaching out over whatever distance separates us, and I'm just wrapping my arms around you right now, and I'm sending you so much love. I know exactly what you've gone through. My own mother passed away several years ago from cancer, and I was with her through her whole journey in hospice over nearly 11 months of being, at her side through the dying process. So I am very, very familiar with exactly what you are going through. And I'm just going to go ahead and tune straight into the angels and let them give you a message of exactly, how to move through this time. Okay. You've got many, many, many angels who are around you, but there's one that I'm going to let take the microphone, so to speak, lead the messages. This is Archangel Azrael, one of the most profoundly compassionate, gentle, and loving angels that there is. And Azrael's message for you is this. He's placing a rose above your head, beautiful rose, that is helping to awaken and sweeten the energy around your crown chakra. And he invites you to visualize this, if you will, for just a moment. Breathe and visualize this. Feel the sweetness pouring in. And be gentle with yourself, he says. This is a time to be very patient, very gentle with yourself, and to move very, very slowly, consciously and lovingly through life. In grief, you are processing something that is taking up a whole lot of energy. There's a lot changing and transforming beneath the surface in your life and your consciousness. You are processing a big change. And so, hold space around that big change you're processing by giving yourself permission to have calm, quiet, simplicity, no pressures, no major expectations. Be incredibly kind and flexible with yourself right now. That's number one. Number two is Archangel Azrael wants you to know that you have the power to connect with your mother now and at any moment. Azrael's way of describing this is that in death, human beings actually become even closer to the ones they love than they ever were in life. Why? Because your mother is now fully integrated within your heart. Heaven is a state of being, Azrael wants us to know, that is not just, being in a place or, something like that. It is a state that is so unified that we are unlimited by space and by time. We can be in this united heavenly state and yet simultaneously be within the hearts of all those we love all at once without our focus being divided. We are one. We are one with everyone. Your mother is so close with you. She is so here with you. She is so present with you, and that's unchanging and it's ever constant. And so all you have to do to feel her presence and to adjust to the new relationship that she has with you now, the new way that she is here with you now, is to tune within, to go into your most intimate space inside your heart. Feel her, breathe with her, think your thoughts towards her, speak your words towards her, write her a letter. She'll answer. She'll hear every single bit of it. She's not gone. She's more close to you than ever before, and you're closer to her than ever before as well. And you have the power to allow yourself to feel it, to know it, and to embody it. Call on Archangel Azrael, and he will help you to get into this state. And by the way, I think he's trying to show us a beautiful image of your mother. I'm just seeing someone who has beautiful tears of joy in her eyes around you, gorgeous golden light shining out all around you. I'm hearing her say, "You're my baby." You know, she's got her sweet way of thinking of you. And she's got her arms around you right now. Really, really powerful connection. Also, she wants you to know how incredibly proud of you she is. She's always loved you and always been proud of you, but even more so now that she sees you in this incredible fullness. And she's going to be sending you signs, so watch for those signs. By the way, one of them seems to be a butterfly. I keep seeing a butterfly around you, and some little flowers too. So flowers, butterflies, look for little signs. Also, she's saying, look up. Sometimes if you see beauty in the sunrise or the sunset, clouds, stars, that kind of thing, this kind of connection, she'll be here in those moments of awe and beauty with you. You'll be able to feel her just as closely as she's always able to feel you. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be well. You are growing through a universal human rite of passage that we all experience in facing death, whether it's our own or whether it's that of other people. We'll all experience that. And there's an incredible blossoming that is occurring in your life. So visualize that blossoming right there, that rose above your crown chakra. Call on Azrael, call on your mother. All will be well. And I'll be sending you my prayers, my dear. Let's go ahead and just with a last minute or two, we're going to squeeze in a couple other little messages here. We have a question from Susan. Susan says, what would the angels have me know about getting back into recovery from compulsive eating? Thank you. Okay, Susan. First of all, I want you to come back next time so that we can go even deeper into this. So definitely come back. We'll put your question right at the top if you remind us of that. You know, just go ahead and do that. But I do want to give you some messages today, even though we have a limited time, but I want to in the future be able to spend a little more time with you. First of all, I'm seeing Archangel Ariel around you. Angel of courage and strength. And she says that she's holding your hand and helping you to come into greater awareness of your relationship with yourself. She's showing us that compulsive eating is coming from needing to cover up or escape from or hide from uncomfortable feelings in your relationship with yourself. Somewhere there's just a little feeling that you maybe lost track of it somewhere down the road, of feeling at odds with yourself, a feeling of being, in some way, maybe not fully accepting of yourself, maybe a little lacking in self-love. Wherever you learned it, she's saying she will help you to get there, to seeing it, to understanding it, to knowing where its root system, works through your own psyche. Face that and pull that weed out of your garden. Ariel invites you to practice radical and powerful self-love. And today, I just want to leave you with this for today. Start by saying in the mirror, I love myself unconditionally. And then take some time to contemplate radically, what does unconditionally really mean? It means 24/7, all the time, no matter what, I love myself. Then start applying that to every belief that you hold about yourself, everything in your self-concept. And you're going to start seeing that there really isn't much of a need for that compulsive eating. We can get a little bit deeper into that next time as well. But thank you so much for your question. And Ariel, call on her. She'll guide you through this. As well as Raphael, he just squeezed in Angel of Healing too. Ariel and Raphael. Final question we're just going to squeeze in super quick is from Fantasia. Fantasia says, hi, Sarah, any messages from my angels? Do they ever try to send me messages? I have been seeing a lot of red birds lately and wondering if this is a sign. Okay, very, very fun question. I love this. First of all, your angels are saying yes, and I'm seeing bells ringing all around you that yes, red birds are a sign from them. They're also seeking to send you number sequences. That'll be another thing that you can see. And they're sending you signs and messages through other people. That's going to be another really super common way that you'll get messages, is someone will synchronistically maybe start sharing about something that was maybe just going through your mind, or something that maybe you just exactly needed to hear that day, that moment. So absolutely, yes, Fantasia, you've got a really, really beautiful connection with your angels. And I'm hearing them say, get playful with us, get adventurous with us, call on us often. You've got guardian angels that want to, introduce themselves to you. So maybe take some time to meditate, or go for a walk out in nature, or do something that just brings you to life, that inspires you, and feel yourself connecting with them in those moments. Just notice whatever comes in through your mind. They're showing us a flower blooming around your third eye chakra, which represents that your third eye is opening and awakening, so that you'll have even greater sensitivity start to grow around your relationship with the angels. This is something that you are absolutely meant to do, and you are so on the right track with bringing in more awareness around all of that. So thank you so much, Fantasia. That's absolutely wonderful. All right, we are now at the end of our time today, everyone. Thank you so much. If any of you, came in with questions and didn't get them, again, come back next time. We'll be here again. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It is always such an honor to be connected with you. We'll be sending out the date for next month very shortly. And if you'd like to stay in touch, in the meantime, feel free to join my email list, where I do send out channeled angel messages monthly. You can do so by visiting sarahhall.com, and you'll see the box where you can put in your email address to join the list. Or you can stay in touch on social media by following me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at sarahhall444. If you'd like your own angel message or angel healing session with me, or if you'd like to join me for one of my channeled angel courses, you can visit sarahhall.com as well to look into that a little bit further. Do also follow Bring Me to Life Network for more wonderful, inspirational content, and have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day. Bye!